Hello everyone and welcome to Vlog 2 of SAC 7101 Skills via Capacities in Speed and Agility. To revise what we said in Vlog 1, the difference between skills and capacities is that skills come from the global representations we have, the assemblies we have in our neuromuscular system that enable us to use capacities to complete tasks effectively. Motor control issues may be the cause of unfamiliarity with the skill, or when athletes adapted a suboptimal movement strategy due to historical reasons. Capacity is the structures and general function that moderate system response and the ability of your body to deliver a particular movement outcome. Limitations due to a lack of capacities will not enable the athlete to perform the most optimal strategy, which can be because of mobility or lack of force capacity. Two athletes were chosen for this vlog. One of the athletes showed a skill deficiency in acceleration, while the other showed a capacity deficiency in the same drill. In the second part, the same two athletes showed that one has a skill deficiency in the shuttle run turn, while the other showed a capacity deficiency in the same drill. In this first clip, the acceleration phase was the main area that was of interest to observe and analyze further. In the position called the ankle cross, which is the position when the ankle in flight crosses the down ankle on the ground, one can notice that there is a cyclical action and a high leg swing, instead of a piston-like leg action with a low leg swing. This shows that the athlete technique is not ideal and a skill deficiency is present. A piston-like action is needed to minimize unneeded flight time to maximize force in the ground. We want the body and the shin to be parallel, because the direction of force and the magnitude drives where they are moving from a horizontal perspective. The back knee as it crosses the ankle should be 69 to 79 degrees. Wall drills were used as thanks to the wall, it allows us to unload the posture, putting in an optimal position, then teach the context of how the legs should move relative to the ground, allowing the athlete to get the concept of directing forces correctly, all the while putting the high magnitude needed to accelerate fast. An upward piston with use of external cues of punch the mitt and downward piston focusing on breaking the glass were used to help the athlete focus on the right technique. We then moved to the number 1 drill and number 2 drill, focusing on the piston action by using external cues of kicking a soccer ball with your shin. Finally, we moved to a 3-second continuous switch, making sure the athlete is in the right body posture and using the ideal leg action for acceleration. Going back into assessing his acceleration, one can note a more piston-like action and a lower leg swing compared to the first acceleration, which shows an improvement in the acceleration technique of the athlete. Looking at the next athlete, we can notice a capacity issue which involves a lack of force production in her acceleration. Let's listen to her feat. While accelerating, we want to generate as much horizontal force as possible in the least amount of time, while maximizing technique, as technique leads to force generation in the ground and to the right direction and magnitude of force. We should also aim in optimizing the horizontal force that can be generated in excess of vertical force needed to overcome gravity. In order to work on the force production, we used drills such as exploding and chasing the shoulders by the ball in one step, half kneeling starts, heel toe crouch starts, falling starts, and prone start with tummy on ground. Wall drills including the bended number 1 drill, load and lift, and bended load and lift were also used to drive the knee up and get full extension of the other leg while pushing down in the way. Knowing where your hips should be when your trailing is moving through was another important factor to consider. Going back to reassess the athlete, one can note a more aggressive initial acceleration. Let's listen again to the feat while accelerating. Comparing both accelerations, we can notice that the athlete is generating more force into the ground. In order to continue working on improving the ground reaction forces and rate of force development, sled work and exercises such as power cleans and barbell single leg step ups will be included in the training sessions. The change of direction drill that was chosen as the main area of interest to observe and analyze further was the shuttle run turn. The first athlete can be observed doing the drill with the ankle and hip joint not facing the same direction. This is critical for reaccelerating and for protecting the knee joint, which shows the athlete technique is not ideal and a skill deficiency is present. Body position and angles change from reaccelerating or changing direction from just deceleration. The emphasis is on the acceleration portion because the target is not on stopping but on the transition from one direction to another. The shuttle run turn is a type of linear change of direction where the athlete needs to run, stop, and come back. The reason of planting one leg over another is that the play or action dictated to turn that way. The ankle hip cue mentioned earlier is important because when this is not present and you turn with the hip facing straight ahead, an enormous torque will be present on the knee. In order to teach the ideal technique where the ankle and hip turn together and load properly, we focused on using corrective measures, firstly by running and planting the foot and stop, then by walking and working on the plant again, and then moving to jog with push, and finally peaking up pace as can be observed through these videos. This way, we took away all the extra momentum that can be sometimes be to confusion for the athlete, and thus making the process easier to get the correct body position. The focus was to get into the right athletic stance, load the ankle by pushing the knee forward, and load the hips by driving the hip back and push the shoulders forward. The way the athlete was using this change of direction drill had his ankles in interplantar flexion compared to dorsiflexed, so he had to improve this in order to go from stopping into a reaccelerating position. When reassessing the athlete, one can know that his ankle-hip angles are much better than the first assessment done, which shows that the athlete has improved on his skill issue that was present previously. The second athlete shows a capacity issue when performing the shuttle run turn on the left, compared to the same drill performed on the right. When comparing both clips, it can be observed that the athlete lacks braking forces when turning on her left, where she isn't able to absorb forces as she does on the other side. When assessing the athlete, it was noted that she lacks overall strength when performing a single leg glute bridge on the left compared to the right. The athlete stated that she had 2 knee operations in the past 6 years, and she also had a tear in her left gluteus medius. In order to work on this, we included bended posture holds with focus on driving the hips into the wall as if she just turned away with inside pressure of the foot on the ground, and the bended load and lift focusing on pushing the ground away when lifting the opposite leg up. We then moved into the bended shuttle run turn from both sides with the athlete focusing on her deceleration in order to have that fundamental capacity with the right mechanics both when assisted and resisted. When reassessing the athlete, one can observe the improvement done on the shuttle run turn when the athlete turns on her left, with her being able to absorb forces and reaccelerating in the opposite direction. In order to continue working on eccentric strength, exercises such as reverse Nordics, Nordic hamstring curls and step downs will be included in the athlete's program. Here you'll find a list of references used for this vlog, Skills vs Capacities in Speed and Agility.